That's what they've been telling him, and he has used about half of it, 39 seconds worth he has used as Bruno Junqueira comes onto the pit lane for Dale Coyne Racing. And it is a routine stop for the guys. The fuel on this car is Eric Castrada for the car number 19. They're waiting for the last of the fuel to go in. They've already changed the Bridgestone Potenza tyres, and away goes Bruno Junqueira, who's shown in 8th place when he came onto pit lane. Look at these two battling out there, Jan Heylen and Tristan Gomedy, absolutely side by side, and it's Gomedy that wrests away that position coming down into turn 1. They were 6th and 7th with Jan Heylen leading from Tristan Gomedy as they came onto pit lane, but now, as you can see, those positions have been reversed.
They've been battling for quite a while, and now Jan has a chance to attack back if he can get into the draft of Tristan Gomedy. Tristan swerving his tires there, just trying to get some heat into them. It didn't.
And well, in the meantime, as we see Gomedy there, and Jan Heylen feints to the inside, but not close enough to make a pass. I should say that Sebastian Bourdais, not only has he completed one more lap than Graham Rahal, his teammate, before coming onto pit lane, he set the fastest lap on the race so far at a 1:45.266, and now Sebastian Bourdais brings that McDonald's car onto pit lane.
And he does. He's coming in. They're going to be putting on scuffed primary tires, it looks like. The one thing they have been doing is giving them fuel numbers. And
fuel now, Kev. Hang on. Just finishing. Go, 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 go.
That's Kenny Sewick giving him the information. They've been talking in code on fuel numbers. Some of the teams using the real numbers that they're looking for, say a 1.75, which could get you as many as 14 laps. Here they've been talking in code, so they're trying to keep us here in the television world and everybody racing against them, guessing just a little bit.
I don't see the need for that, but he got such a huge advantage as he had this weekend. There is Dan Clark, though. Once again, he's doing one lap longer than the other contenders here. He managed that as a result of making a pit stop during that initial caution period in this race, and Dan Clark has therefore already made 2 pit stops, but on a very slightly different strategy to Sebastian Bourdais and Graham Rahal and Oriol Servia. The order right now at this stage has Dan Clark in the lead of the race.
Paul Tracy is into the pits, a set of new sticker Bridgestone Potenzas. They're putting fuel in the car. Watch, they put a lot of fuel in the car all the way up to the top, and he gets away, but he has got a long way to go to get back near the front.
Yeah, as he's shown in 8th place, Bill Stevens, is Paul Tracy at this station. I also should add, it's something I've been trying to get in for about 10 minutes, the fact that Justin Wilson made a slightly earlier than scheduled second pit stop of the day. He thought something might be broken on the left rear corner of that car, and they put in a lot of front wing, added a lot of front wing to try and give more front end grip on that CDW car number 9, the R Sports car of Justin Wilson. But he's struggling along there. He's shown in 7th place right now is Justin Wilson, but again on a different strategy to most of these other contenders. And then look at that, Alex Figge is having by far his best run in a champ car. He's running now in 5th place. He again has made on a slightly different strategy to the other front runners. He, like Dan Clark, came in during that very first caution period. Here is Dan Clark, though. His 3rd pit stop of the day. Really, it's once again an excellent looking stop here for the Minardi Team USA entry. And just incredible that he didn't sustain a puncture in that heavy impact from Robert Dormos, his teammate, a few minutes ago. And Darrell Fox and the boys there put an exemplary pit stop. Can he squeeze ahead of Graham Rahal? Not quite, and of course Graham, he now has that advantage of hot tyres on that Nieuwenhuis-Lanigan car, the Medizone car number 2.
Yeah, that gap will just grow exponentially this outlap for Dan Clark. Full fuel, getting up to temperature on cold tires. No tire warmers in the Champ Car World Series, as you will see in Formula 1. They come in just, you've got to get the heat in them yourself. So that outlap is very, very critical, and you see certain drivers really excel under those conditions and can gain quite a bit of time on outlaps. 3 pit stops, that's 3 laps where if you've got a second advantage, that can be really, really crucial time in a motor race. But this man, Sebastian Bourdais, has about a 6-second lead at this point over now 2nd place man Graham Rahal, and pretty much knew Graham was going to get that position back from Dan. He was running very, very quick lap times there, slightly quicker than Dan was when just before Clark pitted. So good result right now for Nieuwenhuis-Lanigan Racing, sitting pretty at 1-2.
Let's have a look at what has happened so far. We're almost 1 hour into this race, so 40 minutes to go, 41 minutes to go. Sebastian Bourdais is led all the way from the pole position. He started on the front row of the grid for the 29th time in his stellar champ car career as he puts a lap on Catherine Legge. And Sebastian Bourdais, he's been on imperious form this weekend. The only car, the first car out of the race was Ryan Dalziel. And Will Power, I think, is they're still working on car number 5 on the pit lane, so not yet officially retired. But Will Power is now shown as 4 laps back and still sitting there with that Team Australia car. And clearly some sort of a mechanical problem. And it's an absolutely disastrous day for the Toowoomba native from Queensland, Australia, Will Power, who was running 3rd in the standings coming into this weekend, but now he's going to fall farther and farther behind Sebastian Bourdais.
Justin Wilson, we're looking at right now, is caught up to the back of his teammate Alex Tagliani. They're currently running 5th and 6th, but like you say, Jeremy, Justin had to stop a little bit earlier. His last stop was on lap 20 compared to Bourdais, whose last pit stop was on lap 28. So Justin's going to have to stop significantly earlier than Bourdais come for those final round of pit stops. So he's not, I mean, he's been struggling all weekend. He's just not been happy with this car. And, you know, the afternoon's really not going his way either. Running 6th right now, he's a little bit off strategies, off sequence with the rest of the front runners, and he's just not going to improve too much, I don't think.
No, I don't think he is. But on board here with Justin Wilson, his car we hear is handling a lot better after that unscheduled pit stop. Minutes to go in the Generac Power Grand Prix of Road America. There goes Alex Figge there, makes the move into turn 3 as Justin Wilson is rejoining the fray. Just been talking about that pit stop that Justin made a little while ago, and he's certainly a lot happier with the car than it was in the early stages of the race. Let's have a look at the championship points. This was coming, well, that's it. What is that? That's as if it would have finished right now, I think. As we came into the weekend, however, Sebastian Bourdais had a 10-point advantage over second place Robert Dornbos. But these, I think, are the points as if the race would have finished right now. So it went from a 10-point advantage for Sebastian Bourdais to look at that, a 34-point advantage over Robert Dornbos. And my point here is that the 2nd, 3rd and 4th place driver in points coming into this weekend, Dornbos, Power and Wilson, have all had troubles this weekend. There is Will Power's car still on pit lane, and that battle for second place is heating up, but it's allowing Sebastian Bourdais just to cruise away here. And, you know, having just announced this week he's going to be going to Formula 1 next season with the Scuderia Toro Rosso, he really desperately wants to finish this season on a high note, and everything now seems to be playing into his hands, James.
Yeah, he would love nothing more than end his Champ Car career with a 4th consecutive title, be the first man in history to do it, and really just put his stamp, even more so than he already has, Jeremy, on the Champ Car World Series. So he's doing a great job right now, and obviously things kind of playing into his hand with all of his rivals in the championship hitting trouble. But, you know, Sebastian's had a few issues of his own this season, so, you know, I guess what goes around comes around. These things sort of level themselves out. He's had some bad luck, but at the end of the day, he's just driving phenomenally well right now.
Well, he's had 3 DNFs this season, has Sebastian Bourdais, but along with 4 victories, more than anybody else, of course. Robert Dornbos has won twice. Will Power has won twice. The only other race winner was Paul Tracy, who's had a dismal weekend here at Road America. He's now shown in 12th place, his PT. And as we said earlier on, they brought Maurice Nunn. Mo Nunn has come on board here, a veteran of just about every aspect of the sport. He was a pretty accomplished Formula 3 driver in his own right. In the late 60s was Mo Nunn. Then he set up his own race car building business, the Ensign cars. They built cars for Formula 3. And then, of course, for Formula 1, he ran his own team in Formula 1. Came over here initially as a race engineer, ended up running his own teams over here, and was engineer for a whole bunch of guys over the years. He ran Emerson Fittipaldi when he won the championship for Chip Ganassi's team way back in the 80s. And then later on, of course, he engineered Alex Zanardi to a couple of Champ Car titles. So Mo Nunn has forgotten more about engineering these sort of cars than most people will ever know. Michelle Bison's on pit lane.
Team owner of Minardi, we saw the incident. What happened with your teammates? What's your response to that, and how well Dan Clark is doing right now?
Well, obviously both cars are doing pretty well. We had a coming together between the 2 team members, which is obviously not very acceptable. So I think that's at this stage all we can say until we have a good analysis of what went on and have a discussion with both of them.
And what will you say?
Depends on what they say.
All right, thanks a lot. Back up to you.
That's about the most you're going to get out of Wiggy there. Keith Wiggins, he's been around this sport a long time as well. He's another guy who started out as a driver, a useful driver as well. He was in Formula Fords back in the 80s. And again, he's run teams all the way up to including Formula 1. and now really enjoying life in the Champ Car World Series. He's won a couple of races this year with Robert Dornbos, and Dan Clark now is running in third place and trying to salvage something out of this weekend. Robert Dornbos, of course, he was the guy that everybody was concentrating on coming into this weekend. He won the last race in San Jose, narrowed that championship deficit to Bourdais down to just 10 points, but now it's all gone wrong. And for Wiggy, he's probably right there in keeping an open mind at this stage of the game, I guess.
I think ultimately he's disappointed that the car of his that's running for a championship is, ultimately been taken out of contention. But I just don't see how you can really place blame on anybody but Robert, to be honest. I mean, it's one of those situations. I think and maybe at this point he just doesn't want to accept that's the case.
No, I mean, certainly there's no doubt that Dan Clark left plenty of room down the inside line. If that was where Robert was going to go to dive down the inside line, there was plenty of room for him to do so. It looked like he just misjudged that move down the inside and just hit with his right front corner, hit the left rear corner of Dan Clark's car.
And it is so easy to do. I mean, like I've been saying, that corner and a lot of these corners at Road America with these long straightaways into the brake zones, sometimes you can just get caught off guard so easily. I mean, if Dan hits the brakes 10 feet sooner than he normally did, or than Robert thought he was going to, at 190 miles an hour, that happens so quickly that there's just no time to react.
That's right, that's the point there. 190 miles an hour they're leading down there into turn 5, down to the slowest corner on the racetrack at 60 miles an hour, so they're scrubbing off 130 miles an hour speed down there. It all happens very, very quickly indeed.
And another man I just want to touch on is Oriol Servia. From not the best starting position, Oriol started 14th today. He's currently running 4th right behind Dan Clark and actually catching Dan Clark. So I don't know what's happened from the course of yesterday afternoon to this afternoon, but something at Forsyth Championship Racing has gone right for the number 7 car, and he is finding himself in podium contention with just over a half hour to go in this race.
We've seen several times this year, you never count out Forsyth Championship Racing. You remember when Oriol stepped in at Long Beach for Paul Tracy, who had injured himself on the Saturday there, unable to drive on the Sunday, Oriol took over that car, started from the back of the pack, came all the way through to finish in 2nd place, and then Paul Tracy, when he won in Cleveland, of course, PT started way back in 7th place on the grid. So, we've seen the Forsyth cars come from a long way back to get up towards the front.
Not only did he start in 7th, Jeremy, he also hit 2 people and made about 8 pit stops in that race.
He was on his 3rd nose cone, wasn't he, after 10 laps?
He certainly was. So he certainly can bring it back from a bad situation. Again, we're getting a look at this very neat camera angle from Bruno Junqueira's car. He's heading to the brake zone for Canada Corner now. That's 5 downshifts there. He's going just brilliant through there. Now, of course, his right hand will be doing the upshifts, very similar motion to go up through the gears, left hand down the gears, and this is new to Champ Car World Series for this year. They've always had a stick-stiff sequential box off the driver's right, but with the new Panos DP01, they've moved to a Formula 1 style, if you will, paddle shift, although that's kind of the way that most Formula cars that are new are going these days.
Yeah, and the electron system, there is Justin Wilson. He tucks out from behind the slipstream of Alex Figge and makes that move. That is for 9th place down into turn 1. So Wilson now moving to 9th place ahead of Alex Figge, and right behind those two is Bruno Junqueira, and then it's about a 10-second gap back to Paul Tracy. Will Power, we hear, is out of the car, and one of our pit lane reporters is standing by in the Team Australia pit, trying to have a word with Will Power. Cameron Steele.
Incredibly tough day for Will Power, and we talked about it before the race. And Will, you'd been saying, I have to finish every race to be a part of this war. This is just a tough break.
Yeah, another mechanical failure. What can I say? We always seem to not finish on a race where everyone finishes, so we lose maximum points. So I tell you, it makes it very tough for me to ever catch Sebastian. But, we'll keep soldiering on. I mean, it's just a new car, and you keep finding things out. Unfortunately, we're finding out at the wrong time, which is in a race, so yeah, disappointing.
What happened to the car, Will?
It just jammed in the gear. Just got stuck in 4th. Don't know what it is yet.
All right, tough day for Will Power. He'll send it back upstairs.
Yeah, what a shame for Will Power. Started on the front row. We saw he did not make a good start from the front row. Fell back to, what, 5th or 6th place in the early stages there. But now it's gone. Things went from bad to worse. I guess stuck in 4th gear. That is